I think one of the things that I would say is that, in addition to that, is that one difference is that there is more shame. And the shame is everywhere, you know, and the shame is not in one place or the other. The shame is also something that people who are new to this country have to understand pretty quickly and figure out how to deal with the shame of race and you know, the ideology of white supremacy and black inferiority in this country. If you come into this country from any other place, one of the things you have to learn pretty quickly is how to be white or how not to be black. So this is, you know, I think the shame is something that is a huge piece. Now, what happens, I think, with empathy, which is, again, the gift of empathy, is that it takes you into conflict. Because the more present you are to a relationship, the more present you are with someone that you care about, the more likely you are going to get to those places where you really do have to face your differences. And in facing those differences and in facing those places where we have to give up our egos and say, ooh, that hurt, or yeah, I hurt you, or something, that can lead to an even deeper empathy. And I think I've been fortunate in a lot of my friendships and relationships to be able to do that, but to avoid them and to say things like, oh, let's just all get along. Or, I don't see color, we're just human.
That's the central relational paradox,
The
right?
central relationship.
Taking yourself out of relationship to protect
relationship.
And that's dead.
Yeah.
A perfect stopping place to engage all of you in this conversation. They have much more to say, as you can hear. So we are here to have a back and forth, not really, if I can help it, a question and answer. So let's see who might like to kick this off. If not, I will call on you. I will. Yes, go right ahead.
I'm confused about what you were saying about shame. Can you repeat? You know,
I will.
sort of. You think you should feel shame?
No, I just do sometimes.
Let me repeat the question. She's confused about what Christina said about shame.
Right.
And the question is, does she think that is Christina suggesting that she should feel shame?
Or
No, I'm not suggesting that you should feel shame. I'm suggesting that for me, when I encounter the places in myself where I have racist conditioning, it's built into me, they're reflexes, I feel shame. That's how I see them.
can you be specific about?
Well, I'll tell a story.
I mean, listen to you. It just doesn't make sense then that you would have racist tendencies. I mean, obviously I need to be educated.
Well, okay. No, I am not burning crosses on people's lawns. That's not. that's. Racism, in my experience, exists in me in sometimes very subtle ways, but it does really keep me from seeing things.
From seeing what?
From seeing how black people see the world, from seeing what the world is for black people.
But why does your attitude of racism keep you from?
Because that's that's one of the things that racism does. In this theory, the dominant group, and that's insofar as I'm white, I'm in the dominant group. The dominant group does not understand or know what the lives of the subordinates are like. The subordinates, on the other hand, know a lot about the dominants, what they need, what they want to be given to them by reading their mind without even asking for it. That's what this theory is, and that is also my experience. When I first decided to start really trying to find my white race and see if I could take it apart a little bit. I started seeing things I had never ever noticed before. Such as, I never kept pennies in my wallet. I put them in a little penny stand. Such as, what order do people talk in a room where there's a mixed black and white group, depending on who is conducting the talk? There's a pecking order I had never even thought about or seen, because I was just living in the world in which, you know, I got to talk second, basically. And I didn't even really know that. There were hundreds of things. I mean, I went around for a long time just looking, just keeping my eyes open. Really, really almost as though I was an anthropologist from Mars kind of thing. Except that I wasn't just looking at what was happening in a room or with people or cheese in a grocery store, but I was also looking inside myself. And what I responded with when I found a lot of these things was a feeling of shame. And so I came to understand that I was ashamed of being racist, and that my experience of that shame was my clue now. This was the thread that I could follow, and it would take me to the place where I could unravel the whole thing.
If I could add that, I mean, this is one of the key reasons that the help is so popular, because it defines for you what is racism in very stark terms. And what Christina is saying is that it's not Hilly beating up on people and yelling at people. That's not how it expresses itself every day. It's our small interactions, and it's the systemic results, the systems that are in place that provide opportunities for people with privilege to move in certain directions. You know, there is a very well-known work here at Wellesley by Peggy McIntosh called Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. If you've not read it, I urge it. I speak to students with it because what she does is take the concept of privilege and break it down into small, everyday activities. So that when you articulate that to students say, I don't know what you're talking about. No, it's not going on. They say, okay, well, has this happened to you? Oh, well, maybe. Has this happened? Then you can see it in everyday terms. So I think we want to move away from it's hard when there's a big R in the room. Okay? You know, when the big R of racism, then people just clamp right down. I am not that, no matter which side of the racial, on which end of the racial spectrum. That does not engine, which is actually much more insidious than Hilly could ever be.
I just want to say that, you know, in a way, what Christina is saying is that shame is a very important interpersonal signal. And following up on what you said, Callie, one of the things that it signals is when you're making the invisible privilege visible. That in that moment, which is a powerful moment of learning, all that invisible power and privilege is suddenly made visible, and you're taking responsibility that this has an impact on others. It may not be an intended impact, but it is. And I think shame registers that.
Over here.
I found it quite interesting. We started talking about do we like the book, do we don't like the book. It was given to me by African American colleague of mine. And so the issue is I could never finish the book because I got bored with the book. So maybe that meant I didn't like it. But I did like the book. What I grew up in 30 years ago. So what I liked was we didn't have to tell the story. Okay? African American women, I felt that, this is my opinion, I feel the book was so popular because a white woman told the story. It goes back to how does racism operate when the black woman says this has happened, somebody's going to debate. Is it true? Is it not? Is it real? People are going to try to define for you what you know to be true for yourself, which is what Maureen is saying. We got to go in the other room and say, am I crazy? For validation. I think the book is popular because a white woman told what we all know. If you grew up in the 50s in the South, your mother worked for other people and cleaned their toilets. That's a reality. It's a common experience that happens. But people don't hear, they don't listen, they don't see, because when it comes out of a black person's mouth, they are going to be evaluating, is it true, is it valid, is it credible? So I was just glad the white women were telling the story that we knew existed. So I just like that.
Well, so, so I take your point, but I think, and I'm certainly going to let Maureen, who has a little bit more credentials than me on this, but I think the issue for those of us who hate it, is that though she wrote the story, and look, she can write any book she wants, so let me be clear about that. She has the perfect right to write it. She did not tell the story. She told some fantasy in her mind of those women. See, what you're saying is the truth that was told by her, is the history that so many people don't know. So you're responding to a history that we should all know to even begin to have that conversation in the movie, and I think that's important to be said, absolutely.
No,
but the voices of the black women are never heard. That's filtered through Catherine Stockett's idea of what the black women would say and feel. And that is what annoys me about it.
Okay. So now to me it wasn't a historical book.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, but the fact that the history that you just named about how black women work, how they worked in the South, see, that's it, you understand that.
Yes.
You don't know how many people don't know that. That's what I'm saying. So that's a history that you're responding to that lots of folks have no idea about or choose to ignore.
I don't think we're saying any different thing, but what I'm saying is when a white person's daring to talk about race and the disconnect and the gap and all of that, now people talk, people read, and it's a catalyst now that led to this.
Absolutely.
So to me, it's movement. Had I wrote the book, it would be way down on that list. so anything that moves the relationship to a place where this woman here can ask that question and have people respond is movement in the right direction. I guess that's what I'm trying.
No, I think a dialogue is very important. That's why we're here. I just hate the fact that it's described in a way that's so stark that people believe if I am not participating in the starkness of what is expressed in this story, I must not be a part of, you see what I'm saying? I'm not playing a part in what is a long and fractured history of race in this country. But I'm talking too much, and Maureen, you need to say something because you're